am going to show you how to make candy bar cookies on a stick. Yeah, you know what? A lot of times I like to stick to more healthier fare, but sometimes you just gotta cross the line over there and make something really junky. Try not to keep these around because they're really addictive and don't want to eat too many of them, you know. Okay, I am going to start, we're going to make 3 different kinds. I'm going to start with peanut butter cookie on a stick, and the candy bar, of course, inside is a Reese's peanut butter cup. Now you can use any kind of candy bar that you really want. You want to get the single serve of the Reese's peanut butter cups. I don't like the little mini kind. I like the more flat kind. It'll be like this one, your regular Reese's peanut butter cup, because I think it makes it a little bit better cookie. It's more candy bar inside the cookie, and so I like to use this. But you can use those little mini ones if you want. It's okay. But you'll also need some lollipop sticks like this one in order to make these cookies. You can get these at the craft store in the candy making aisle. Really quite available. So you'll need some Reese's peanut butter cups for this, and then we're just going to make a peanut butter cookie. And this is going to make a lot of peanut butter cookies. These are really big. They're, you know, big candy bar cookies on a stick. You can make them smaller, but you know, might as well go for it. So we're going to start with a pound of butter, and that's a lot of butter. And we're going to add 18 ounces of peanut butter. And I kind of have a mixture. Oh, I forgot my spoon. I have a mixture of creamy peanut butter and some roasted peanuts that I had because I didn't have any chunky peanut butter. And I kind of like these cookies to have a little bit of whole peanuts in them. So I just use some packages of Planters peanuts and put them in there to make them kind of chunky. But you can use chunky peanut butter. That's always an alternative. Okay, you're going to get that butter working in there. Cream your peanut butter and your butter, and of course your butter needs to be soft, room temperature, or if your room's kind of cold, it needs to be zapped in the microwave for a minute or so on low setting. You're just going to give that a good beat. Just get that all mixed together. Get it started because you're going to add the sugars to this. Alright, that's getting us started. Okay, now there's a mixture of white sugar and brown sugar in these cookies. Brown sugar always makes cookies really good, and it makes them soft. So if you want a softer cookie, put some brown sugar in there. Okay, we're going to have some white sugar in there and some brown sugar. You can see that this is going to make a lot of cookies. Alright, just get those mixed in there. Make sure you're using a big bowl. And again, you can do this in a stand mixer, which I would probably always use, but it makes so much noise when I'm trying to have a class that I just do it by hand. It's not that bad. Alright, we just get those mixed together. Alright. Cookies are very typically all made about the same. You cream together your butter and your sugar, and then you add your eggs. We have 4 eggs. And eggs in recipes are usually always large or extra large eggs. Especially at high altitude, I like to use the extra large. Alright, so we have 4 eggs. We're just going to beat those into our mixture. You want to make sure you beat those really well. You don't want any big stringy pieces of egg in your cookie. Alright. I'm going to have to do the 2-arm method here. It's a lot of cookie dough. Alright, we're also going to add our vanilla to that. And again, beat that in. Alright. I'm going to sift in the dry ingredients. Alright, for this recipe, I'm using bread flour. And that's especially appropriate at higher altitudes. You can use all-purpose at sea level. But if you're at altitude, higher altitude, 3,500 feet or more, use your bread flour. I'm just going to put that in my little sifter, and I have my salt and baking powder. I'm just going to shake that right into my peanut butter, eggs, and sugar. And again, if you have a sifter, of course you can use a sifter, but that's just one more gadget that I don't want to keep around, because this does the trick and I can use it for other things. Alright, get that in there. Alright, we're just going to mix that dry ingredients into a peanut butter sugar mixture. And this bowl is just barely big enough, as you can see. Just barely big. Whoop. This recipe can be halved really easily. You wouldn't want to double this recipe, that's for sure. Not unless you have a really big bowl, a really strong arm. Alright. Just mix that. You want all the flour. Make sure you get it all off the sides, all off the bottom. If you're using your stand mixer, that's probably doing a pretty good job of that. If you're doing it by hand like I am, make sure you get all the way down at the bottom of that bowl. There's usually always some flour hiding down there. You don't want to get down to the bottom of your bowl, scooping cookies out, and get to a big pocket of dry ingredients at the bottom. Okay, I can see all the way down to the bottom. Alright, you see that's a good thick cookie dough. Alright. Alright, so that wasn't so bad. It's pretty easy so far. Set that aside and we're going to get our cookie sheets out. Alright. Of course, I'm going to line them with the parchment paper. It's especially important to line these when you're doing these cookie pops. You don't want them to stick at all to your cookie sheet. Then you might have a problem of getting your cookie pop off the cookie sheet. Okay, so really quickly, you're just going to take your lollipop stick. Let me show you how. It's super easy. I don't like to get my fingers all messy, so I kind of leave the wrapper on a little bit. Then you just go in the side and work in. You want to keep it in the middle of the candy bar as much as possible. And then you just remove the wrapper, okay? Alright. Then I use my number 24 scoop. That gives me a good amount of cookie dough. Your hands, you're going to get just a little messy here, but it's kind of fun. It's like being able to play with Play-Doh. Alright, then you just kind of smash it out and put your candy, and then just wrap it around the candy. Alright. Wrap it around the lollipop stick. Alright. Then you just set it down on your cookie sheet. And I'm going to continue making these. And I'll have them all done when we come back. So keep going, and I'll show you how to put them, how they should be on the cookie sheet when we're all done. So, take a break and be right back. Okay, I finished my cookies. I've got 14 here, and that's how many Reese's peanut butter cups were in a bag. So that's how I made, and that's kind of a good amount. As you can see, you don't want your cookie pops to be close together at all, because they're really going to spread out and get quite big. And you don't want them to lose their nice circle shape if they bake together and you have to kind of cut them apart with your spatula. Then they just don't look as nice, taste just as great, but just won't look as nice and not quite as professional. So make sure that you leave plenty of room around each of your cookies for them to spread out. Alright, I have my oven heated up to 375. I'm going to cook these for about 12 minutes. You want these a little bit on the longer side than the shorter side, because you don't want them to be too soft. If they're too soft, the cookies will tend to break off of your lollipop, and you'll have some unhappy people trying to eat their candy bar cookies on a stick. Alright, so I'm going to put these in the oven, and I'll get back with you as soon as they're done. It's going to be great. See you then. Okay, our cookies are out of the oven. Look at those. Look super good. Alright, you see how they've baked up? None of them are close together or touching. That's just how you want them. And just go ahead and slide that parchment paper right off onto your counter. Just like that. And let them cool right on your counter on the parchment paper, unless you have a cooling rack that can take that big of a surface. But I just put it on the counter and let these cool completely before I try to pick them up. Otherwise you'll pull the lollipop stick right out of your cookie, and then all of that hard work will be for nothing. So wait for them to be totally cooled off before you try to handle them, and I'll show you what we can do with them once they're all cool. So we'll be back in just a few.